So in the 2 or 3 minutes that I have, I thought I would just sort of try to leave you with a couple of impressions. It's not a lot of time to go into a tremendous amount of depth, but I just wanted to share some thoughts with you. As some of you know, on the back of my business card, there's a big 80, and the reason for that is because the World Affairs Council celebrated its 80th anniversary last year. And as a relative newcomer to Pittsburgh, I sometimes find myself thinking that Pittsburgh was more international in 1931, when the World Affairs Council was founded, than it is today. But that does not mean by any stretch of the imagination that Pittsburgh is not appealing to people with international backgrounds or international interests. As a matter of fact, because of my job, on a regular basis I get phone calls and emails from people asking for informational interviews. A lot of those people are recent graduates from universities here, people from here who have gone away, so-called boomerangers who are looking for opportunities to come back, or even people from other parts of the country or from around the world who are interested in Pittsburgh. And one of the things that I hear over and over again is there are not enough international jobs or jobs with sort of an international component to them or an international aspect to them. And yet it's important to remember that there are over 380 companies in Pittsburgh that employ over 50,000 people, and those 380 companies are all international companies or subsidiaries of international companies. So there is a significant impact here in the region, but there is there's also a great opportunity to grow that opportunity for international companies and for people to work internationally. But there's also a lot that happens sort of under the radar. As a matter of fact, last week I was coming home from the office pretty late. It was after 10 o'clock at night, and I live downtown next to a restaurant. There was a group of people standing in front of my front door, blocking the entry, and they were all speaking German to each other. And so in German I said to them, "Excuse me, can you stand aside? I would like to go in." And they said, "Why are you speaking German?" And I said, "Why are you here?" And they said, no, why are you here?" And I said, "Well, I live here. So now you have to tell me why you're here." And it went on for a little while. They said that they were waiting for me. I had no idea who these people were. But we got into a conversation, and it turns out that this was a group of 40 Germans who were here because they work very closely with federated investors. And I was astonished. I ended up going up, getting business cards, coming back downstairs, having a beer with them. And I was just amazed sort of how much international stuff is actually happening here that some of us don't really know about. So what can we do to make Pittsburgh more internationally dynamic and more attractive? And not just Pittsburgh, but the surrounding region. I think we need to do more of what we're already doing to attract and retain people. It's wonderful that Pittsburgh hosted the G20 summit in September of 2009. It really helped put Pittsburgh on the map internationally. My personal feeling, though, is that with each month that passes between September of 2009 and the present date, the gleam of the G20 kind of fades a little bit. And although we have to keep talking about it and mentioning it, we also need to keep doing more and more things that will help shine the international spotlight on Pittsburgh. And we are doing some of that already. I think it's fantastic that Pittsburgh, as a city of meds and eds, was selected as a host of Intel's International Science and Engineering Fair. And in May of this year, there were over 1,000 young people, high school students basically, from over 70 countries who were here to compete for over $3 million in prize money at a science fair. And they'll be coming back in 3 years, which is great. As some of you know, as I hope all of you know, this week, Pittsburgh is hosting the One Young World Summit. One Young World will bring together about 1,300 young people from over 180 countries to talk about the most pressing economic, social, and political issues of the day. And they'll all get introduced to Pittsburgh. I think that this is the sort of thing that can have a huge impact in a city like Pittsburgh. It's the sort of thing that would get lost in a Boston or a New York or a San Francisco. But here it can make a big splash and I think have a big effect as well. So I think focusing on that next generation, sort of to tie in with the young people, is having young people come as a result of the Intel ISEF, as a result of One Young World. Who knows? Some of them might decide to come here to go to graduate school. Some of them might decide to come here because they've gotten a taste of some of the quality of life elements that the county executive was talking about, and say there could be tremendous opportunities here. But what we need to do is sort of keep getting the word out that we're open and interested in having people come. And we need to do a lot more, I think, to be welcoming to some of those people who come.
How do we, so we have all these young, interesting young international people coming for One Young World. How do we kind of capitalize on that after the event is over?
So one of the things, those of us who have been involved with trying to bring One Young World to Pittsburgh and trying to make this summit very different from the previous summits, has been, instead of just having the delegates see a city airport, see a city hotel, and see a convention center, really trying to find a couple of opportunities to get the delegates out into the community and involved with different initiatives that exist here, and really try to make sort of a global, local connection. The delegates are all charged at the end of the summit with picking up on some of the topics and themes that they've heard about, some of the issues that they're passionate about, and actually taking on tangible projects that will try to solve some of the challenges that they see ahead. Hopefully some of those can be sort of traced directly to Pittsburgh. There's some people up here on the panel, there are some other people in the room who are hosting breakout sessions with the delegates where I hope connections will be made. For me, a lot of as sort of simplistic as it sounds, one of the most important starting points is really building relationships. And if we can build relationships and ties with people around the world, I think that those will take hold. But it's all about that sort of first introduction, about that first connection, about realizing that we have many common challenges to face, but many interests, and trying to build that relationship. And so that might be sort of a roundabout way of answering your question. But what's also great is we have data on all of these young people who are coming. We have contact information for them. We can share information with this group.
We know where they live.
About, more or less, about what's going on here, and hopefully continue the dialogue with them in that regard.
Well, great. I hope you've arranged for good weather for their visit.
We're trying.
There's a question.
Jim.
Steve, when you say we need more international jobs, what do you consider to be an international job? Is there a definition or
So I think it's kind of nebulous, right? I mean, some of the people that I talk with are people who want think tank type jobs. They're just not really, and my point to them is, if you want to work for a Brookings Institution or a Council on Foreign Relations, you have to go to Washington or New York. Those are not the kinds of jobs that we will have here, although there are, given the number of academic institutions that we have, a lot of research type jobs. Of course, I mean, Susan Everingham is here, the RAND Corporation is here as well. There are some jobs, but they're limited. The suggestion that I often make is look at some of those international companies that are here. Look at those nearly 400 companies that are here. They have international interests and have opportunities where international can be a component of what you do, even if it's not all of what you do. And then look at all the local companies that are seeking opportunities abroad. Manufacturers that are looking for markets abroad. I've heard stories of people who have never traveled abroad before, start a new job, and within 2 or 3 weeks of being on the job are asked to go to Brazil or to China on business. Imagine how daunting that must be for them. But there are interesting opportunities for people here to have an international piece of their work, but I think that we need to do more to sort of cultivate that.